term I learned, algorithm pricing, and I want to focus on the Quakers, who again they were the pioneers for the one fixed price policy or the one price policy. And it's when this got really popular. The Quakers have been doing this for a long time. Quaker merchants, and really when it got popular was 1870s. I talked about that. Think of one of the individuals, the founder of Macy's, who implemented this policy that really made it popular in the business, for being able to have a set price. To not have different prices based off of customers coming in and haggling, because before it became really, really popular. The main way for people to determine the price was through haggling, and that was human to human. Now, as I said in the show about dynamic pricing, you're now dealing with an AI algorithm, and it's really hard to have a back and forth with an AI algorithm as to determining what the price is. And so you just got to take the price for what it is, and it can change between different people. So why they the reason that came up for why Quakers had a one price policy was going back to the feeling of this being immoral for different customers to pay different prices, dishonest. And this is an opportunity for small businesses moving forward with the discussions around AI. And what is coming up is this prediction for the future that there will be AI made and then human made for products, or buy from humans, buy from AI. And it's not crazy to say something like that, because already the amount of automation that is involved in different levels of production already exists. So, this is something that we have to remember as small business owners, that we have a big voice in determining how AI continues to get involved in our daily lives, and what level do we use this tool. Because when I first heard about the language learning model ChatGPT, I thought it was incredible and amazing for the ease of use for research. You could go in there, you ask a bunch of different questions, get answers without having to sift through different articles, and it could just share it in a clean format. And I even started to share this with other people, and had a playbook that I was sharing with people, and I was on board. I was like, this is amazing. People got to implement this. You're going to save us so much time. It's going to be so efficient for your business and figuring out information and being able to brainstorm new ideas. And there are benefits to AI. I am not completely against AI, but there is also an importance of asking deeper level questions, moral questions, determining how involved is AI going to be in our daily lives. Because there's also other discussions being had of, oh, AI could take over and do all of our jobs, and be able to make decisions for us, because AI could be an objective voice and opinion, or voice, and be able to share the verdict for certain decisions without human intervention. And then we as human beings just have to deal with that and accept that. So, what I want to tell you right now is you don't have to accept the inevitable future that people are telling you. You can have your voice in that discussion and share what your concerns are, share how this would benefit, what levels of benefit you would like with AI, and based off of you actually using these tools, that sets a boundary around AI. And it's important to not forget that, and to not feel pressured to go along with what people are telling you. And even with stuff that I share with you, as I've said, where things don't make sense, be curious and ask questions. It's really important. So, welcome back to the show. Today, I want to get into understanding the another piece of the puzzle, and this is where I want to focus on the World Economic Forum. I want to focus on this term, agentic AI, and specifically relating to government, talking about global citizen, digital IDs. I do want to get into all of that, because that's where this can get into what boundary do we put on this tool of AI. And I still use it to be able to figure out, find different or research. It helps me a lot with research, and then being able to brainstorm some ideas, ask a lot of questions. It's really helpful for using language learning models. I use Gronk to be able to ask questions. But then it also goes back to privacy, personal information being shared. The talks of, is AI God, which again it is not. As a Christian, I tell you that this is not God. And when people are sharing, hey, this is an all-knowing, smarter than every human being, so we have to listen to this AI. When that comes up, be curious and ask questions, and that's really important. And for us to focus on bringing moral values back into the conversation, we've got to have that. So the question that I want to make from yesterday's show, and it ties into climate change here, is with the CO2 equivalent emissions that I talked about with the data centers. That includes AI. As I said, the rough estimates are like 15 to 25% of data centers are focused on AI. But when I had said the comparison between CO2 equivalent emissions with the data centers, and then with those that are the homes that are burning wood, uh, it was shocking to notice a difference on the environmental impact for pollutants. So with data centers, what I said was 100 to 105 metric tons. But what I meant to say was 100 and 105 megatons, which again is millions metric tons. So you're looking at 100 million metric tons. So that is a big difference too, compared to what I said yesterday in the show. And then comparing that to then the estimated 11 homes that burn wood, the amount for CO2 equivalent emissions is 0.4 to 0.5 for estimates megatons. That is a shocking difference. There's been this talk about climate change and how we got to focus on our environment, and on an individual level, you got to do all these different things, jump through all these different hoops, is what it feels like, in order to protect the planet. But then noticing the amount of emissions on these data centers it doesn't make sense to me. And it makes me it gets me to be curious and ask questions, and then think about this worldview that's really important for you to remember: power and the rest of us, and control. So I want to get into this document. There was this document that was published, and it was presented at the Tallinn Digital Summit. And it's called the uh, Agentic State: Rethinking Government for the Era of Agentic AI. And this was published on October 2025. I'm going to look at this paper more, but it's something that you can look up yourself. And there's these terms that get used to help us to be more comfortable with these new technologies. And again, I go back to, I support the marketplace, I support technology advancements, and we've got to have the conversations. It's both. So when you're saying like AI agents are the hands and the brains, that that starts to create this connection point of like, oh, it's just it it, it starts to create familiarity. And I keep coming back to, there is this sinister feeling that comes up with AI, and there can be bad intentions with this type of technology, and we've got to address that too. So what happened, there's a quote that I want to read from this presentation for you to give an idea of going back to where something just doesn't make sense to me. So one of the presenters, he said this: when we put the brain of LLMs, that's like ChatGPT, language learning models, Gronk as examples, and generative AI, together with the digital tools we have, recreate software that can perceive, reason, and act in the virtual and in the real physical world with relatively little human intervention. So I want to repeat that here. This is the quote: when we put the brain of LLMs and generative AI together with the digital tools we have, recreate software that can perceive, reason, and act in the virtual and in the physical world with relatively little human intervention. beyond setting goals and defining parameters. And why this is valuable when we turn to government is that government today, well, it needs agentic AI, end quote. Now, how the presenter defines government is it's a bubble of, it's a bunch of workflows, explains that it's slow, reactive, the speed of bureaucracy. And I've, I think back to where it just doesn't make any sense. So what is being told is instead of limiting government control and government involvement, you think about that as a small business owner in your specific industry. What involvement does government have to avoid the development of monopolies and to increase competition? I believe that in protecting consumers, but it's moving more towards free market capitalism. And when I hear something like this of saying, no, it needs agentic AI, this idea of replacing human intervention, I'm like, well, what about limiting and localizing? I think about that here in the US, localizing government. And again, I've said it, big government sucks. Why not? Why not focus on that first? Why just jump into getting human intervention out of there? So that's a question that comes up for me of being curious and wanting to ask more questions. And it's something I'm going to take the time to explore more of because this goes back to that just doesn't make any sense for the course of action here. And it gets you to question as well, have certain things been planned? Is there intention behind this of having government, if it's I think about all these different stories that are coming out with like Minnesota and the fraud that happened there, where now some estimates say it's nearly $1 billion in fraud from COVID, uh, and I think of the feeding our future. You can look at that organization as well. Um, but it goes back to like, well, has the intention been to make government seem really, really inefficient so that us as human beings are going to look for an alternative and be more willing for an alternative? It's a question to ask. So something I'm going to continue to explore more of. But that was one that gets me questioning more about AI and the involvement of AI in our daily lives and what that actually looks like for the boundaries we can put on that. And as small business owners, going back even to the importance of the impact of dynamic pricing and the importance of building trust and predictability with your customers. There's an opportunity here for small businesses to be able to be an alternative to some of the AI technology that's being developed and used with big corporations. And that's, again, a conversation I shared with the dynamic pricing show and something I'm going to keep talking about more. But then some other things I explored was relating to climate change, right? So talking about this difference in the amount of pollution with the data centers. Well, the estimate, I said that before, the estimated usage of electricity for just the AI learning is estimated between 10,000 to 50,000 gigawatt hours by 2027. And again, those are estimates, but that's just in a very small section amount of electricity usage for the overall data centers. And to give you an idea of that, that's for a full year, more than all the homes in Nashville for 10,000. And then for gigawatt hours. And then for the 50,000 gigawatt hours, that is all the New York City homes, Philadelphia homes, for a whole year of electricity usage. So that is a massive amount of energy. And more is going to be, as this continues to move up in scale, it's going to require definitely more energy and more of these data centers. So with climate change and the talk about how we got to protect our planet, and I was brainwashed in this of like, oh my god, I got to do my part. And yes, I want to, and I still, and I don't think I was clear about that in the last show. I still want to make sure that we're protecting our planet overall and taking care of our environment. That's really important. But then it's noticing the sometimes you can call it hypocrisy. This doesn't make any sense, and that is where I go to the World Economic Forum that has talked about this for what the potential future could look like. And how I think of the World Economic Forum that happens in Switzerland, and how this year in 2025 there were hundreds of private jets that flew in to Zurich for the World Economic Forum. And you have to ask yourself, okay, if you're coming in to talk about sustainability and then everyone's flying, a lot of people, not maybe not everyone, I don't know about that, but hundreds of private jets are flying in for this event. It's crazy to me to see that hypocrisy in there. And this is something where it doesn't make sense to me. Where then I ask, got to be curious, got to ask more questions here. And then I started to dig deeper into a few things I want to set the stage for today, and then gonna further explore this as the week continues to move forward. But there was to set the stage. So there's a few things you can remember. Global Government Technology Center, Berlin. Uh, this was an initiative with World Economic Forum. It's on the World Economic Forum website, and it was opened in 2024. And I'm going to share with you a description from the website for the World Economic Forum for what it is. So the GGTC Berlin connects national GovTech ecosystems with a global network of experts and practitioners to inspire and inform GovTech agendas by fostering global cooperation and delivering actionable insights. GGTC Berlin empowers governments to convert technologies into real value for their societies and is a nonprofit entity and a subsidiary of GovTech Campus Deutschland, an organization initiated and governed by the German federal government to co-build and scale digital innovations and solutions with the world's leading startups and GovTech actors. So when I read that, what I think about is the centralization of governments being able to coordinate. And then this goes back to here in the US. I think about our individual rights and freedoms that we get to experience here in this country. If you take the time to read the Declaration of Independence, the Constitution, and be informed and understand your rights that you have as an American citizen, there something like this that comes up of, okay, centralize, like this idea of working all together. You have to then ask the question here, well, what does that mean? How does that relate to control? And it goes back to what evil forces are out there, because they do exist, and it's really important small business owners to understand that they exist. And so you get into global elites that came in for World Economic Forum that are setting the agenda for what the future is going to look like. And when that is shared to us as something that you just have to take and accept and move forward and just get on board with, that is where I get the sinister feelings that come up, because I will tell you, you can share your concerns. And when we unite as small business owners, because you know what that can experience be like in your specific industries, when you're just one small business owner compared to many, that can become a big voice. And it's really important to unite and make sure that it goes back to what I've said before. America's future is a small business renaissance, and moving towards that in the future, or moving forward with that future in mind. So that came up, and I'm going to explore more about the Global Government Technology Center, Berlin. But with the another article that I want to share with you, this is relating to the fourth industrial revolution. And it's, again, this idea of like, this is what's going to happen. You've got to accept it. And it's this preparation, because again, this article was back in 2016. The author is Klaus Schwab, which is who is the founder of the World Economic Forum. And there can be this constant, this is what the future is going to look like. This is what's going to be like. So we just got to get on board, and you just got to prepare. And it's important for the conversations. That is really important for the dialogue, for disagreement to come in and communicate where we're headed. But with this article, the title is "The Fourth Industrial Revolution: What It Means, How to Respond." So With a section in there I want to highlight here for a quote in the article. It's the first industrial revolution used water and steam power to mechanize production. The second used electric power to create mass production. The third industrial revolution is building on the or no, the fourth industrial revolution is building on the third, the digital revolution that has been occurring since the middle of the last century. It is characterized by a fusion of technologies that is blurring the lines between the physical, digital, and biological spheres. I've shared that before here on the show that there's actually two worlds that are becoming very distinct: the digital world, the physical world. I noticed that with young people of deciding to take a day off on being on technology and getting outside or having timeout zones without your phones. Like that is starting to build for a movement. And so you have physical and then the digital going more into virtual reality and more into AR too. So augmented reality. And those worlds, again, I think it's moving more towards virtual reality for distinction. And then physical, it's more how do I get rid of or how do I take breaks from using any form of technology? That is becoming clearer for me as I move forward with this. But again, with these headlines that with an article like this talking about the revolutions, another talking point that gets put out there is this fear of like, okay, the great replacement of AI in the workforce. Like, well, why do we have to have a great replacement of AI in the workforce? Why does that come up? Is that for economic reasons? Is that for efficiency reasons? Is that because it's easier to deal with AI and robots rather than human beings? Those are questions. So then, is that a country that we want to live in moving forward, where we're replaced all by robots and then we're just sitting around not doing a whole lot? It's something to think about, to have more conversations on that. And then it goes back to even your craft and how we as Americans, we've got to have this we got to come back to caring about the craft, caring about good quality, beautiful quality, and putting that into the work that we're doing. I remember going to craft shows when I was a little kid, going around and seeing people that made these these really cool. If it's, I remember there was like a dragon on crystals that someone was able to put together, and just like these other cool like designs and products. But they cared so much about the quality, and you could feel that through their work and the passion they share with you, and that is something that we've got to continue to bring back into this country and play on offense with the new developments of technology. So for me, that gets me to ask more questions about this fourth industrial revolution, right? Why can't small business owners be able to have a voice in what this looks like? And I keep coming back to the importance of going back to your local communities and supporting local small businesses. Finding opportunities to pay with cash is another way for change that you can make in your daily life. It goes back to how do we localize the supply chain and be able to make sure that we're reinvesting in our towns and our communities rather than letting them fall apart. So it connects in a few different ways. But then when it comes to the going back to the GovTech, I want to get into the GovTech because I was shared on the Global Government Technology Center Berlin with on the World Economic Forum website. I was shared in that description, and I want to go into the GovTech Intelligence Hub and share with you what that is. And I'm going to be exploring more about this. So it is a global platform. So here's a quote of it. It's a global platform for actionable GovTech insights and collaboration, co-created with the World Economic Forum. Through the hub, we connect governments, technology, and academia with government tech intelligence to enhance public service delivery. So I come back to sovereignty as well with countries and how important that is within our countries to preserve the freedoms and rights that we have as individuals here in the U.S. And so yes, there's an importance of collaborating with other countries, but then when you start to mix, I think about reading this and how it sounds, it's like connecting these governments, well, then you're creating, and it's already been established. You think of these organizations like WEF and international law, like there's certain establishments or certain activities that are connecting governments together. But then what impact does that have on the Constitution here in this country? Declaration of Independence. It is something we must preserve for these freedoms, including your freedom to decide how you make a living, which includes owning your small business. And so this is, again, something that gets me to ask a lot more questions. I'm going to take the time to explore more about. But I want to make sure that you're aware of that too, and important to share that that you can look at this online and see that online. But um, the other uh, the other point I want to make here is the digital COVID certificate. So this is something that is talked about in discussion of digital IDs and moving into that direction of more control, centralized control that can come up. But then you have blockchain in that discussion as well. But basically, what happened here was in many EU countries, there was a digital COVID certificate that facilitated safe and free movement. Again, to monitor and surveil your movement and facilitate safe and free movement. It goes back to control here. It's like we have to have a conversation about that. Uh, Instead of just letting that happen, we gotta be able to have a discussion here of what happened with a situation like that, and then what path are we headed for in our future? Because again, we get to decide what that future becomes. It takes a lot of hard work. It takes a lot of determination, but this movement is a determined movement. But we can have a big voice in this. And for me, I come back to the importance of these moral values of honesty, of courage, self responsibility, of taking ownership and accountability for your actions, and making this country better, improving it. Because I love this country and I hope you love this country too. But seeing something like that for the digital COVID certificate and the monitoring that was coming up, that gets me questioning more about where this could go into then the digital ID, into the path of going into a digital ID. And then the other thing that comes up with the World Economic Forum was the predictions made for 2030. That first one being you'll own nothing and you'll be happy. I talked about the renter society that we're in and the subscription models, and we're not owning things, having equity when it comes to our products and the products. So I think about even home ownership and how important it is when you have equity in a country. You're going to want to take care of it more. It doesn't mean you don't care about it at all, but you're going to care about it even more and want to make and really I think about holding your ground on certain on your certain values that you have, and not just being resignated to, oh, this is just the way things are, but actually being able to share your voice in how to shape the future moving forward, and especially how we build our future here in this country. So more of this to come ahead. This is setting the stage, but it's an important conversation we got to continue to have about AI. And yeah, there's definitely, as this week progresses, I'm going to keep talking about AI in different areas. So I'll see you tomorrow.